والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين نبينا محمد وعلى آله وعلى أصحابه أجمعين. رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقه قولي. In this series of talks in which we are planning to speak about all the four imams, we have already spoke about Imam Abu Hanifa in one of the lessons. In this session, we'll try to shed some light on the life of the great Imam, Imam of Dar Hijra, who is the Imam of the city or the enlightened city, the abode of immigration, the city of Medina. Our Imam for today is Imam Malik bin Anas al-Asbahi. Imam Malik is considered to be one of the Arabs. As we learned about Abu Hanifa, he was not from the Arabs. He was from Persia, and according to some narrations, he is from Afghanistan in specific. However, when we speak about Imam Malik, we are speaking about a person who is originally from the Arabs, and his roots are from Yemen, from Bani Asbah. One of his ancestors met the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam as well, and served the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. However, Imam Malik himself was not a Sahabi, he was not a Tabi'in, he was a student of the Tabi'in and Atba' Tabi'in. He studied under the great imams who were existing in his time in Medina. We'll come to know some of those great imams under whom he studied in order to become one of the great scholars of Medina. This gentleman, in his childhood, he was raised by his father and his mother in an exclusive way. He says that the reason behind me gaining knowledge is my father. What did his father do? His father would always insist him to learn. And one day his father was very upset because Malik wasn't able to give a proper answer for a question which the father imposed on his children. This is a social thing, however, that a person sits with his children, discusses matters with his children, try to challenge the knowledge which the children are having. And this challenging for the children, it leads the children to learn more. And this is what happened with Imam Malik. One day the father of Imam Malik, Anas, Imam Malik's name is Malik bin Anas, is exactly the opposite of the name of one of the Sahaba, Anas bin Malik. The year in which Anas bin Malik died, the year 93 of Hijra, is the year in which Malik bin Anas was born. Malik bin Anas was born in the year 93. And Anas bin Malik, the companion, the Sahabi of the Prophet ﷺ, he died in the year 93. So the father of Imam Malik, radiyallahu anhu, was asking a few questions to Imam Malik and his brother, Abdul. Abdul was able to answer the questions, and Imam Malik wasn't able to answer the questions on that occasion, which made the father upset, to the extent that the father said, "It is because you keep playing with the pigeons which you have. It is due to your playing with the pigeons that you are not able to answer my questions." This triggered Imam Malik. It shook Imam Malik, and he started sitting with the scholars in the mosque of the Prophet ﷺ in order to learn from them, in order to have a better reputation in his house. And this is how every parent should do. They should insist the children to study, not only Islamic studies, all the themes of knowledge should be studied by the Muslims. But who are the ones who are responsible to raise and instill this spirit in the children? It is the parents. Definitely it is the parents. So Imam Malik started studying. He started his life. From his childhood he started learning under great imams of Medina, such as Abdullah bin Hurmuz. One of the great people under whom Imam Malik learned was Abdullah bin Hurmuz, a man who used to spend his entire night worshipping and praying to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This is Abdullah bin Hurmuz. Imam Malik says, when I met Abdullah bin Hurmuz as a teacher or as a student, when I met Abdullah bin Hurmuz, I wasn't able to leave him. He inspired me so much so that I used to sit with him from the morning till the evening. And imagine when a student is sitting with his teacher from the morning till the evening, how much knowledge he is gaining. At the same time, how patient is this student. How patient is this student? He is also a human being. He's having other needs of life. He's having other interests in life, but he is sacrificing all those things in order to get sufficient amount of knowledge which would please him. So he would stay with him from the morning till the night. And he continued doing this for 7 years. 4 years are sufficient to get a bachelor's, isn't it? This man continued sitting with his teacher for 7 years. 7 years means master's and PhD together. This is what he did. And that's why Imam Shafi'i would say about Imam Malik, after learning and studying, after discovering Imam Malik, Imam Shafi'i would say that Malik is Hujjatullahi ala khalqi. How come I can't? And Imam Malik is considered to be a proof sent from Allah for the people. Means he is, in his life and in his knowledge, is considered to be a proof, an argument for the people to discover Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And he who will see or meet Imam Malik, yet he will not know, he will not discover the path towards Almighty Allah, is a man who will have no excuse in the Day of Judgment. As a person who discovered Quran, for instance, yet he didn't know who is Allah, yet he didn't know what is required from him, is a man who will have no excuse in front of Allah, because Quran is hujjah. Quran is an argument, either for you or against you. When these people, those who were around Imam Malik, when they saw Imam Malik, they would say that Imam Malik is a hujjah, due to the knowledge which he was given, due to the practice which he used to practice in following the messenger and implementing the teachings of Quran. So this is the greatness of Imam Malik, the greatness of the Imam about whom we are speaking in this night. Half an hour, 1 hour, I think it's insufficient to speak about Imam Malik. Imam Malik's students, as mentioned by Al-Qadi Al-Yahsabi in his book Al-Madarik or Tartib Al-Madarik, he says, the prominent students of Imam Malik, only the prominent students are above 1,000 students, only the famous ones. If you want to speak about students, not about Imam Malik himself, if you want to speak about his students, you need volumes to speak about the students. Imam Shafi'i is his student. Imam Ahmad was having a desire that if he would have studied under Malik. Al-Harith would say about Imam Malik radiyallahu anhu, إن من زينة الدنيا أن يقول الرجل حدثنا مالك. That one of the wonderful things which a person can have in this worldly life, one of the wonderful properties which a person can have in this life, is to have the right to say حدثنا مالك, that I learned from Malik. If somebody can say this, if somebody is having the right to say حدثنا Malik, that I learned from Malik, this is considered to be one of the most wonderful properties which a person can have in this worldly life. So this is Imam Malik, this is the greatness of Imam. The most distinguishing feature in Imam Malik is love and respect for the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam. This is the most distinguishing feature in Imam Malik. The most distinguishing, exclusive feature which is found in Imam Malik is his love and honor for the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. It is reported with authentic chains that Imam Shafi'i says that I saw some horses and mules in front of the house of Imam Malik. Now this story is mentioned to see how much this man, Imam Malik, respects the Prophet ﷺ, doing things which are not necessary, actually, which he is not obliged to do, yet he is doing those things. He saw horses and mules in front of the house of Imam Malik. So Imam Shafi'i was amazed. He said, these are wonderful horses. Imam Malik said, you can have all of them if you want, because I do not ride anything in the city of the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam. His humbleness is compelling him to walk in the city simply without riding anything. Is it necessary? It's not necessary. But it's a feeling actually. It's a feeling which compels him that if you love the Prophet ﷺ, if you respect him, you have to do this as well. And this is not a bid'ah which Imam Malik is doing. You may find the early companions of the Prophet ﷺ giving excellent lessons in love of the Messenger ﷺ, in honoring the Messenger ﷺ. There are narrations which says that there are amongst the companions were some who would come and knock the door of the Messenger ﷺ with the tips of the nails out of respect for the Prophet ﷺ. The companions such as Abdullah bin Amr al-As, he says, if you ask me today to describe the Messenger, I won't be able to describe his face, because I never put my eyes on his face out of respect for the Messenger ﷺ. And the stories goes over and over with the companions, males and females, show excellent respect for the Messenger ﷺ. Habiba would have a special mat for the Prophet ﷺ. She will not allow anyone to sit on that mat. This is for the Messenger. This is the respect which the companions have for the Prophet ﷺ. And this respect was inherited by Imam Malik, which we can clearly see in his teachings, in his practices, in the pattern of his life. Imam Malik is considered one of those people, one of those great scholars, who would weep on hearing the name of the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He says that I went for Hajj, and in Hajj I saw Ayyub al-Sakhtiyani. Ayyub al-Sakhtiyani is a man who's very famous amongst the Salaf al-Salihin for his ibadat. He said, I saw Ayyub al-Sakhtiyani praying in the Haram. But after finishing his prayer, when I went to the Zamzam, I also found Ayyub al-Sakhtiyani there in the Zamzam. And someone close to the Zamzam mentioned something about the Prophet ﷺ. And Ayyub al-Sakhtiyani was reminded of the Prophet. And when he was reminded of the Prophet, he wasn't able to hold his tears anymore. And he started weeping bitterly. And then I decided to learn from this person. Thus Imam Malik says, after witnessing this sincerity and loyalty for the Prophet ﷺ, I started learning from this man, Ayyub al-Sakhtiyani. He got knowledge from Ayyub al-Sakhtiyani. This teaching of the teacher affects the student. The type of people under whom they study is the type of characteristics which they carry in themselves. Because he studied under such righteous people, that's why he's carrying such a wonderful character in him. In his childhood, when Imam Malik was still a child, the mother played an important role. The mother of Imam Malik, and by the way, all the great imams, starting from Abu Hanifa, Imam Malik, Imam Shafi, Imam Ahmad, for all these great imams, the person who played the most significant role was the mother. In fact, we should, today, I always say this whenever I speak about the imams, the people who should be given the credits are the mothers, because they are the ones who raised. Imam Malik would say that my mother used to wake me up and place the turban on my head and tell me, go to the lessons of rabee bin Abdul Rahman and Farooq, go to his lessons and learn from his morals before learning from his knowledge. She would guide him, go and learn morals from him first. Look at his morals, how he deals with the people, how he speaks, how he treats the people, how are his akhlaq, and then learn from the knowledge of that person. Because if a person is not having akhlaq, what importance is there for his knowledge? He's humiliating his own knowledge. A person who's having Quran, for instance, or Hadith, or good knowledge of Islam, but he's not having good akhlaq, which means internally he's deformed. Your akhlaq is the internal beauty. There is no internal beauty for this person when there are no akhlaq. All these ibadat and muamalat and all those laws which are there in Islam, they're actually based to erect ourselves, our akhlaq. Didn't Allah say in the Quran, Inna salata tanha anil fahsha'i wal munkar? Prayer prevents you from immorality and from sins. So prayer is meant for akhlaq. What is the wisdom behind zakah? Is to create love for the poor in your heart, and to sacrifice your wealth. It's affecting your akhlaq. It's tazkiyah for you. What is the wisdom behind sawm? As we all know, when the Messenger ﷺ says that if your fasting is not preventing you from evil speech, and evil practices, then Allah doesn't need your fasting. It means the fasting is meant to erect your akhlaq. So this is how. Knowledge was meant to erect the akhlaq, and that's why you may find these wonderful akhlaq in these great imams. So the mother would say, go and learn from his akhlaq first, before learning from his ilm, from his knowledge. Thus he started learning from Rabi'a bin Sulaiman, or bin Abdul Rahman. Imam Malik would go and he would stay with them for a lengthy period of time in order to learn from Rabi'a. And Rabi'a again was a man of night prayer. This was very famous about Rabi'a. Rabi'a bin Rabi'a or Rabi'a bin Sulaiman, Rabi'a bin Farruq, different names are given to this Imam. This man was again raised by his mother. Rabi'a's father left the city when Rabi'a was still not born, giving to his mother 30,000 dinars. Rabi'a's father gave 30,000 dinars to the mother and said to the mother that I am leaving for so and so expedition. So he left. And he came back after 25 years. Now imagine how big is that child now who was not even born at that time. When the father came back, he asked the mother after 25 years, what did you do with the 30,000 dinars which I left with you? And she said, go to the mosque. And when you come back, I'll tell you, what did I do with that 30,000 dinars? And when he went to the mosque, he found his son Rabi'a teaching the people in the mosque of the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam. This is a man coming back after 25 years. He doesn't know anything about his son. Or what happened to his son? How was he raised? And all of a sudden he finds his son in the center of the mosque of the Prophet ﷺ, teaching the people, instructing the people. He was amazed. He came back immediately to the house. And he said that I saw an amazing scene today. Our son Rabi'a is teaching in the mosque. And she said, this is what happened with your 30,000 dinars. I spent the entire wealth in teaching your son. This is a mother who knows how to raise the children. This is what we need today. It's not too much of speech actually, too much of books. We have in every house you have so many books. But we need mentors. We need mentors who will raise our children in a proper way and revive those imams back in our history as they were back in history, back in our life as they were back in our history. So the mothers have to play a very significant role in raising the children. It is because of those righteous mothers that we are speaking today about these great imams. If those mothers were not there, these imams would not exist actually. So Imam Malik is considered to be a scholar from the scholars of Islam who lived in the first Islamic century and the second Islamic century. The first Islamic century is the Qarn, or the century which was praised by the Messenger ﷺ, even the second and the third as well. But the first century is considered to be the most praiseworthy century. It is because it is the century in which the Messenger ﷺ himself existed. So since Imam Malik was born in the year 93 after the migration of the Prophet, he is in the first century. Thus, he is meant by the hadith in which the Messenger ﷺ says, خَيْرُ الْقُرُونِ قَرْنِي, that the best of centuries is a century in which I lived. So our Imam Malik bin Anas al-Asbahi, is having the virtue of being from the first century. In fact, in some of the books of history you may find something further, or something better than this, or something which is having a very direct indication which speaks about the greatness of Imam Malik. A hadith narrated by many scholars of hadith which says that soon there will be in Medina a scholar towards whom people will come from every direction on the camels to learn from him. Soon there will be a scholar in Medina towards whom people will come from every direction on camels to learn from him. And if you study the history of Medina, the only person for whom people were coming from all directions was Imam Malik bin Anas. Before the existence of Imam Malik, the scholars would say in Medina that the one who's meant by this hadith could be Ibn Abi Dhib, could be Rabee, could be this person, could be that person. They used to have doubts. Who's exactly meant by this hadith? Towards whom people will come from different parts of the world on the camels. But after the arrival of Imam Malik bin Anas, the scholars unanimously agreed that this hadith was meant for Imam Malik. Because it was Imam Malik for whom people used to come from Arabia, from Syria, from Iraq, from Yemen, from Spain. Imagine, from Spain people used to come to Imam Malik. From North Africa, in fact, the official school of thought which was followed by the people of North Africa and in Spain as well was the school of thought of Imam Malik. It is not because Imam Malik was ruling them, no. It's the knowledge of Imam Malik which inspired them as they started following. If Imam Shafi'i is saying that Malik al-Hujjatullahi ala khalqi, and you can imagine what others will say who are having lesser knowledge than Imam Shafi'i. So this is the greatness of Imam Malik. In one of the traditions or one of the sources of history, Ibn al-Jawzi in Sifat al-Safwa, he says that one of the students of Imam Malik once entered his house in order to meet the Imam. And Imam was busy at this time. He was busy doing something at this time. So the Imam said to his student, "There's someone who placed a paper under my praying mat. Pull it out and read what's there so that I can listen to it." So Imam Malik was doing his work, whatever he was doing at that time, and this guy took the paper to read it for the Imam. He pulled the paper from underneath the mat and read the paper. He reads in the paper that the one who placed the paper is saying that he saw in his dream the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam in the mosque of Medina, saying to the people, the Messenger is saying to the people, "I have placed something underneath my pulpit, my mimbar, and I have ordered Imam Malik bin Anas to pull it out from there and distribute it on the people." So they pulled out, so that something was perfume. They pulled out that perfume and Imam Malik was ordered to distribute it amongst the people. This is a dream which some of Imam Malik's students saw, and he wrote it in the paper and kept it for Imam Malik. On hearing this, Imam Malik started weeping and he wasn't able to continue the thing which he was doing. These are indications which are speaking about Imam Malik and speaking about the greatness of Imam Malik, the Imam about whom we are speaking today. A man who filled the entire world with his knowledge, with his wisdoms and with his akhlaq. The reason behind Imam Malik becoming a faqih and muhaddith, Imam Malik is one of those people who are considered to be amongst the fuqaha and amongst the muhaddithin, a jurist and a traditionalist. A traditionalist is a person who memorizes the hadith and narrates the hadith, so he's good in that. A jurist is a person who grabs, who deduces laws and wisdoms from those hadith and presents it to the people. Being a jurist needs different skills, and being a muhaddith needs different skills. A person can be a muhaddith, a person can be a jurist, but to be a jurist and a muhaddith at the same time is one of the greatest virtues which a person can have. And the reason behind this, that how Imam became a muhaddith and a jurist at the same time, a muhaddith and a faqih, the reason behind it is the varietyness of his teachers. He didn't stick himself to one type of teachers. And this is one of the mistakes which people do when they come to study Islamic knowledge. They stick themselves to a type of teacher and they do not go beyond him. This is wrong. How will you develop different skills in yourself when you don't study under different types of people? If you study under historians only, you'll become a historian. If you study under muhaddithin, traditionalists only, you'll become a traditional, a muhaddith. And if you study only under fuqaha, you'll become a faqih. But if you study under each type of people, then you will carry in yourself all those characteristics which are found in those people. And this is what Imam Malik did actually. He studied under rabee. Rabee was very famous for his reasoning. He studied under Muhammad ibn Shihab al-Zuhri. Muhammad ibn Shihab al-Zuhri was famous for his hadith. One day, Hisham bin Abdul Malik invited Muhammad ibn Shihab al-Zuhri because somebody said to the Khalifa that this guy, Muhammad bin Shihab al-Zuhri, speaks too much about hadith, and we want you to test him whether he is good in those hadith or he's just saying things from his mind. So the Khalifa invited him, and he said to Muhammad bin Shihab al-Zuhri that we want you to tell us some hadith about from the hadith of the Messenger, which you normally say to the people. And Muhammad bin Shihab al-Zuhri in this gathering narrated almost 4,000 hadith. And there was a person behind the curtains who was writing down for the Khalifa all what the Imam is saying, all what the Muhammad bin Shihab al-Zuhri is saying. After one complete year, the Khalifa invited al-Zuhri again. And then what he said to him? He said to him that we wrote down all those hadith which you said on that day. And after 1 year now, he's saying to the Ibn Shihab al-Zuhri that, can you repeat to us all those hadith? And guess what did the Imam do? He repeated all those hadith in the same sequence. In the same sequence he repeated all the hadith. This was Muhammad bin Shihab al-Zuhri, a traditionalist, a scholar of hadith, under whom Imam Malik learned. Not for 1 year, not for many years they kept learning from him. Imam Malik would say that I used to come, now see the struggle of the Imam to learn. I used to come on many occasions to the doors of Muhammad bin Shihab al-Zuhri, and it used to be crowded. I have to keep standing there until the lesson finishes. Now imagine if the Imam was not having interest in knowledge. Would he keep standing there for Allah Alam how many hours? He'd never do that. It is because there is an excellent zeal in his heart of learning that he's standing there. Today if you invite people to attend a lesson where they don't have to stand, they can drink and eat and sit down, you may find some people not interested. But Imam Malik was not like this. He would keep standing for hours in order to learn from Muhammad bin Shihab al-Zuhri. In one of the incidents, Imam Malik says that I used to go to Ibn Shihab al-Zuhri's lessons without papers. I used to memorize the hadith which Ibn Shihab al-Zuhri will say. So they know that Ibn Shihab al-Zuhri in one lesson he would narrate 30 hadith. So he will go every lesson and learn 30 hadith and come back. When they come back, they write it down in the notes, in the books, in the papers and so on. Imam Malik says, in one of the incidents, I forgot one hadith from the 30 hadith which I learned that day from Ibn Shihab al-Zuhri. And I was so upset. It was the worst day in my life. So he was ashamed that how can I say to the teacher that I forgot one hadith? It is a shame to say it to the teacher. It is a shame to say to the teacher, can you please repeat that hadith? Definitely the teacher will say it. But he himself, he feels that this is a shame for me. If I am a good student, I should have memorized all those hadith. But after being reluctant for a long period of time, he went to the teacher and said, you know teacher, I forgot one of the hadith. And the teacher said, 30 hadith? Only 30? And from which you forget What is this? We used to go and learn from Sayyid ibn Musayyib and Abdul and Muhammad ibn al-Qasim and others in Medina, 50 ahadith in a session, not 30. 50 ahadith. And we'll come back to our houses and write them down easily without forgetting them. So this caused Imam Malik to be more careful while learning. This is how the children are raised. This is how the students are raised. Always they are being given examples. It is the examples and the models who raise people. If a person wants himself to be raised, find a model for yourself. Imam Malik would say to his students, if you want to be a righteous person, find a model for yourself with whom you can stay day and night. So that you can learn from how to spend your day, how to spend your night. Did Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala say in the Quran, لَقَدْ كَانَ لَكُمْ فِي رَسُولِ اللَّهِ أُسْوَةٌ حَسَنَةٌ. What is uswa? It is a model. Almighty Allah, when He wanted to guide the people, He sent a model for them, uswa. Likewise, even today, if you want to be guided, find a model for you. And those people who are having kids, children, students, these people should function as mentors. It is not the speech which erects the people who are around you. It is your model, it is the way in which you function and live which erects the people who are around you. If you are a good person, you don't need to speak too much to guide the people. Your attitude will be the best thing to guide the people. So Imam Malik was raised in this way. When Ibn Shihab az-Zuhri came to Medina first, the people of Medina requested Ibn Shihab that we want you to teach us some hadith. You are very famous for the hadith which you narrate. And Ibn Shihab started narrating a hadith to the people of Medina. When he reached to the 60th hadith, after 60 hadith, he said to the people that I think this is sufficient because it will be difficult for you to memorize all these hadith. And the people in Medina said that no, we have a person here who can repeat all those 60 hadith to you after listening them once only, in the same order, with the chain of narrators, not only the text, it is the chain and the text. And Ibn Shihab said, who can do that? And they brought out Imam Malik, who was a young man at that time. And he narrated to Ibn Shihab all those 60 hadith. And at the spot, Ibn Shihab said that this child or this young man will have a great, great future. And Almighty Allah blessed Imam Malik with a great future. However, after having all this knowledge, Imam Malik at the end of the day was not an arrogant person, was not showing off with his knowledge. His knowledge was making him humble and humble. This is the effect of knowledge on the person. Imam Malik said that after growing up, after hearing praises from the people, I never used to give fatwa because I believe that my teachers are more qualified than me to give fatwa. And when people used to ask me repeatedly, and I'm ignoring the questions, not giving them fatwa, I went to ask 70 different scholars in Medina whether should I give fatwa, should I issue fatwa or not. And he said there are 70 scholars from Medina who teach the people, they approved me. And they encouraged me that I am qualified to give fatwa. Then only I started having courage to give fatwa. How wonderful is this? This is what we need to learn from the Imam. What do we do today? We learn one word from here, become big muftis. And everyone does that. We read one page and speak 10 pages. This is what many people do. And then sometimes we regret that I was mistaken. Why did I speak in that way? Why did I say that thing, that statement? This is because we went to instruct and pass fatwa before being qualified for it. Although Imam Malik was qualified, yet because he knows that the people of fatwa, how should they be? Because he studied under those scholars. So he didn't do that until he was approved by 70 different scholars. Imam Malik is having, by the way, 4,000 teachers. After after being approved by some of us, don't even have 70 teachers. We don't even have 70 teachers. This man got permission from 70 teachers to give fatwa, and then only started passing fatwa. Yet he used to say, in many cases, Allahu Alam, as it's very, very famous about Imam Malik. Allah Alam, he would say Allah Alam. Even if he's having a tiny doubt about the matter, he will not speak about the matter. He will say Allahu Alam. And many occasions, after being a scholar of hadith and teacher of hadith, people used to come from different parts of the world and ask him questions, and he would say Allahu Alam. To the extent that somebody said to him that, how do you say Allahu Alam? What should I say to the people who are waiting for your fatwa back in my country? What will they say about you that you don't know? You don't have knowledge. And he said, tell them that Imam Malik is saying Allahu Alam. This is his humbleness. Sometimes you learn something and somebody praise you, and then you hate that people would say that so and so doesn't know knowledge. You hate that. You feel that's affecting your dignity. But Imam Malik knows that in Allah's sight, to be raised in Allah's sight, it is better to keep quiet than speaking without knowledge. In fact, he would say that every teacher should teach his students who come to learn from him to keep quiet and say Allahu Alam. He should give them this lesson. Because half of the knowledge is to say Allahu Alam. Because things are either in a category which you know or in a category which you don't know. So half is you know and half is you don't know. So that's why the scholars repeatedly say half of the knowledge is to say Allahu Alam. And this is the trait of all the great scholars. The more you learn, the more you discover that you don't know. The more you learn, the more you discover that you don't know. The lesser you learn, the more you feel that you are a great personality. Imam Malik lived in the times of the Umayyads, but he was not very famous in the times of the Umayyads. He also lived in the time of Basits. Umayyads are considered to be the first dynasty which ruled after the Sahaba, almost 93 years. Abbasids are considered to be the second dynasty in Islamic history which ruled for almost 550 years, a huge dynasty. The third people who ruled after the Umayyads were the Mamluks. The Mamluks ruled for almost 300 years. After the Mamluks, you have the Ottomans, who ruled for 600 years. The Ottomans, who were removed only almost 100 years back. The Ottoman Caliphate was removed 100 years back only. So they ruled for a long period of time. This is Islamic history in brief. So Imam Malik lived in the final times of the Umayyads and in the beginning years of the Abbasids. In fact, Al-Mansur would repeatedly come to Imam Malik and he would say to him that, you know what, I want to make your opinions the prominent, the dominating opinion in my entire state. I want everyone to abide to what you say. And I want this, your book Muwatta, to be right in the center of the Kaaba. So that people can discover you and discover your book. And guess what? This is a big opportunity for the Imam Malik to become famous and to become a ruler now. Now he's going to rule. The Khalifa is giving him this opportunity to rule. What did Imam Malik say? He said, no, don't compel the people to follow me. Because the companions of the Prophet ﷺ went to different parts of the world. And people learned from those companions what they learned from the Messenger ﷺ. So let them continue what they learned. Don't force them to follow my... What could be a better humbleness than this? You are being given the opportunity to rule the world. When we speak about the Basit, we are speaking about Arabia, about Yemen, about North Arabia, about North Africa, about a huge state, They were hardly able to keep them together actually. So this state is being given to Imam Malik in a golden tray. Yet he is not accepting it. This is the humbleness of those great imams. This is what we have to learn from these great imams. The lessons which we have to learn from these imams are many. One of the wonderful lessons is the matter of ibadat. The Islamic knowledge is not learned to keep them in books and to speak too much. It is learned to be implemented. How much ibadah you perform when you learn. Imam Malik would stay the entire night praying. His servant would say that by Allah, for 40 years, in most of the nights, I found Imam Malik praying with his Isha wudu, his Fajr Salah. The wudu which he performs in Isha, with the same wudu he prays his Fajr. For 40 years, in most of the nights, this is what he found. His servant is saying this after his death. People in Islam, they didn't know. Means he didn't reveal it to anyone. It was between him and between his God. But the servant revealed it after his death. This is the benefit. This is how a person's personality should be modified after learning. If you keep learning but it's not affecting your personality, not affecting your life, it's not a good knowledge. The Islamic knowledge, the religious knowledge is meant actually to erect us, to purify us, to have some tazkiyah in our life. When Imam Malik would recite the verse of Surah Al-Hakum Al-Takat, now today everybody knows Al-Hakum Al-Takat, but who reflects on the surah? Imam Malik, if he reads ثُمَّ لَتُسْأَلُنَّ يَوْمَئِذٍ عَنِ النَّعِيمِ, that you will be asked on the day of judgment about the na'im, about the pleasures of life which you are having. He would keep weeping till Fajr. He would keep weeping. After reciting one verse, ثُمَّ لَتُسْأَلُنَّ يَوْمَئِذٍ عَنِ النَّعِيمِ. When he comes for his lesson, for instance, see how he respects the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ. When he comes for the lesson of hadith, he will make wudu, purify himself. He will wear the best of his clothes. His students would say Imam Malik was he was white. His skin complexions were white, and his hair was white, and his clothes were pure white. So he's a white person. And with this, add to this the brightness of hadith, the blessings of hadith. The Messenger ﷺ says, نَضَّرَ اللَّهُ امْرَأً سَمِعَ مَقَالَتِي فَوَعَاهَا فَبَلَّغَهَا أَوْ كَمَا قَالَ صَلَّى اللَّهُ عَلَيْهِ وسلم. And may Allah brighten the face of a person who listens to my hadith and then conveys it. This is a dua from the Prophet ﷺ. The Messenger is making a dua. So add this to his brightness. He's already the brightness which Allah gave him. So he's a bright person. When he will come for the lesson of hadith, he will put his good clothes, new clothes, the most expensive clothes which he is having. It's not to show off. It's out of respect for the hadith. And now I'm going for the lesson of hadith. And then he will place some perfume in the place where he will place bakhur in the place where he's teaching the hadith, in the mosque of the Prophet ﷺ. And he will not allow anyone to raise his voice in his gathering when the hadith is being recited. No one is allowed to raise his voice. This is the respect for the hadith. If this is how they respect the hadith, now imagine how will they respect the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam. These are the true people who know the station of the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Umar ibn Khattab, once he saw a person raising his voice in the mosque. So he said to the person that if you were from the people of Medina, I would have punished you for raising your voice in the mosque of the Prophet ﷺ. You are not allowed to do that. Today go to the mosque of the Messenger ﷺ. Those who are making selfies and others making movies and others fighting with each other, these are not the morals of a Muslim in the mosque of the Prophet ﷺ. Be more committed, show some respect to the place in which you are. So show some respect to the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Imam Malik sometimes would, out of respect, you won't be able to turn his face towards the grave of the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Out of respect, this is how these people were. If somebody comes to ask him a hadith in the street when he is not ready, not prepared to say a hadith, he will not say it. He will say, I cannot say it. This is the respect of these great personalities for the messengers, and this is the reason why Allah raised him. Those who raise Allah and His Messenger are raised by Allah. They are raised by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for the good that they do. Khalifa Harun al-Rashid comes to him once and says that, I want to learn the hadith which you say to the people. But you know, you have to remove all these people who learn here with you, your students, you have to remove them. I want a special session for me because I am the Khalifa, Harun al-Rashid. So, you know what Imam Malik said? And there is no good in a knowledge which a person gains without suffering with all those who are suffering. When you suffer to gain something, you are dealt with like any other student who is there, then only you will respect that knowledge. And he denied to give a special lesson to Harun al-Rashid. He said, you have to sit like other students. He said, can I have a special place close to you? He said, no, just sit with the students. And he sat with the students to learn the hadith of the Messenger. And the Khalifa was not able to say anything. This is because of the majestic personality of Imam Malik. Imam Malik, amongst all the imams, was the person who was having the most majestic personality. The most majestic personality was given by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to Imam Malik bin Anas. Imam Malik studied under Abdullah bin Hurmuz. He studied under Rabee al-Ra'i. He also studied under Ja'far ibn Muhammad, Ja'far al-Sadiq, bin Muhammad al-Baqir, bin Ali ibn Hussein bin Ali ibn Abi Talib, one of the great imams. He studied under him. And when Ja'far al-Sadiq was close to his death, they said to him, whom should we learn under after your death? Because Ja'far al-Sadiq was also one of the imams in Medina. So Ja'far al-Sadiq from Ahlul Bayt, he didn't say, go and learn from my children, Musa, Kazim and others. No, he didn't say that. He said, after me, stick to Imam Malik. He's the best scholar in Medina. This is what Ja'far al-Sadiq said, that go and learn from Malik bin Anas. So the people went to Imam Malik bin Anas to learn under him. In the year 179, after living for after living for 86 years or 85 years, Imam Malik's life came to an end. Before his death, he said, I regret on one thing only, that my son didn't take interest in hadith. His son's interest in hadith was not as strong as he was wishing. However, Imam Malik is considered to be one of the great imams in Islamic history. I would recommend every student or every single person who is here to learn more about Imam Malik, about his personality, about his akhlaq, his ibadat, his book Muwatta. Muwatta is a book about which every person should know. Muwatta is considered to be the first written source of hadith in Islamic history. Almost 1,720 hadith traditions, narrations are there. It is considered to be the Imam Shafi'i and others would say that the best book, the most authentic book after Quran is the book of Imam Malik, Muwatta. And when Abu Ja'far al-Mansur, as you mentioned, he saw al-Muwatta, this book, he said, I want to place in the center of the Kaaba so that people can see it and learn from it and recognize it. So this is the Imam about whom we spoke today. We believe that we got lots of lessons from the life of this Imam. Inshallah, in other occasions we'll try to continue speaking about the Imams, such as Imam Shafi'i, Imam Ahmad and others about whom we can speak. With this we come to the conclusion of this lesson. وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك. وصلى الله على نبينا محمد والحمد لله رب العالمين.